I paid for the flowers, the venue deposit, even the custom velvet welcome signage she insisted on having flown in from Milan. $30,000. That's what I gave her. No contract, no hesitation. Just family helping family. And yet, when I showed up to her rehearsal dinner, there was no seat for me. She didn't even flinch, just looked me up and down and said, "It's family only tonight. You understand, right?" I nodded, I smiled. I walked out of that room like nothing happened. What she didn't know was I still had access to the RSVP system, the vendor accounts, the final guest list. Everything she'd forgotten I built for her while she was too busy posing for filtered engagement photos and pretending I didn't exist. She thought excluding me made her look powerful. But I don't fight for a seat at someone else's table. I burned the seating chart and let the whole damn wedding fall with it. We were never friends. From the moment I met Jessica, my now former sister-in-law, she treated me like a wrinkle in her otherwise carefully ironed life. She wasn't rude, not outright. That would have been too obvious. Jessica was polished, trained. Her insults came dressed as compliments, her judgment served with a smile. When I got engaged to her brother, she congratulated me by saying, "I'm so glad he found someone grounded." When I wore my favorite vintage heels to our first family dinner, she looked me up and down and said, "It's so brave that you don't care about labels." She was the kind of woman who made backhanded an art form, always posing, always performing. Picture-perfect Instagram engagement, curated book club, faux minimalist home that screamed money, but in beige. Her world was built on image, and I didn't fit into it. To his credit, my husband always tried to smooth things over. "She's just a little intense," he'd say. "Don't take it personally." But it was personal when she introduced me as his wife at parties and conveniently forgot my name. It was personal when she left me off family group photos, then tagged me with #Plasona vibes in the caption. And still, I tried. When she got engaged, I congratulated her with genuine warmth. I offered help. At first, she accepted it, eagerly. I had event planning experience. I was good with budgets. I had vendor connections. She leaned on me, and I showed up. I helped her build a vision board, sat through cake tastings, negotiated with a florist who'd quoted her double. I paid the $5,000 deposit on her venue when her card randomly declined. I sent her Venmo requests that went unacknowledged and then stopped sending them altogether. I thought, maybe this is how you become family. You give, you invest, you let go of the little things. But Jessica didn't see me as family. She saw me as help. The first major slap came when she sent out her save the dates. I wasn't listed in the bridal party, not even an honorary mention. She claimed it was a small wedding party, very curated. But when the photos started going up online, there were 8 bridesmaids, even a flower girl. Her childhood dog made the cut. I told myself it didn't matter. I still had a seat. I still had a role. I still had dignity. But dignity only stretches so far when someone keeps tugging at it like thread. 2 weeks before the wedding, she called me out of nowhere. No greeting. Just, "Hey, just a heads up. Can you wear something neutral to the rehearsal dinner? Nothing flashy. You tend to stand out." I laughed. She didn't. The final cut came on the night of the rehearsal itself. I walked into the hall, florals I'd paid for on every table, lighting I had sourced from a designer friend, napkins and that stupid millennial blush she obsessed over, and I paused at the long table set up for dinner. No name card. I asked the planner quietly if my place had been moved. She looked at her tablet, confused, and said, "Actually, you're not listed here at all." Jessica walked up as I stood there, draped in chiffon, perfect as ever. She leaned in and whispered, "It's family only. You understand, right?" I looked at her, and I smiled, because in that moment I remembered the RSVP dashboard. I'd built it. The vendor accounts still linked to my business email. The contracts stored in my Google Drive. The budget tracker, mine. The calendar, mine. The seat she took away from me wasn't a rejection. It was permission. Permission to stop pretending. Permission to burn it all down. She wanted to humiliate me quietly. I would ruin her elegantly. I didn't go to the wedding, but I was supposed to. After all, I'd helped build it. The save the dates, the RSVP portal, the customized hashtag printed on cocktail napkins, all mine. The florist who gave her a 40% discount, a favor to me. The venue Jessica bragged about booking 9 months in advance. I'd been the one to write the first check when her deposit bounced and she cried over wine in my kitchen. I'd spent the last year watching her parade in a white veil fantasy while quietly covering her tracks. And in return, she made sure I was erased from every part of the event that would be seen, remembered, or photographed. I should have seen it coming. But the truth is, I wanted to believe I was being paranoid, that maybe I was overreacting, that maybe, just once, she'd choose kindness over control. But when I saw that empty space at the rehearsal dinner, surrounded by people I'd fed, funded, and practically managed for the past year, something in me snapped, not loudly, not violently, but completely. She walked up to me with that signature smile, soft, saccharine, smug, the kind of smile you'd expect from someone handing you a brochure for a fake apology. "It's family only," she said, voice low so no one would hear. "You understand, right?" I looked at the room, at the centerpieces I sourced, the signature cocktail menu I custom designed with the bartender she couldn't even remember the name of. And I smiled back. "Of course," I said. "I wouldn't want to be in the way." She patted my arm, like I was a child. I walked out before dinner started. I didn't speak to anyone. I didn't look back. I got into my car, drove 3 blocks away, and parked. Just sat there. For 20 minutes, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at the steering wheel and thought, she forgot. She forgot I built this entire wedding like an unpaid planner. She forgot I still had the passwords, the contracts, the guest list spreadsheet. She forgot I negotiated the entire catering deal under my name. She forgot I was the one who set up her wedding email address, and that it was still synced to my inbox. I opened my phone. The Google Drive folder was still there. Jessica Wedding Final. Dozens of files. Budgets, draft seating plans, vendor contact sheets, passwords. Then I remembered the florist's name, the one who'd asked for a backup contact just in case. I remembered the DJ's email thread, still running, still active. I remembered the venue manager, an old college friend of mine who once told me, "She's a lot. I only said yes to this deal because it's you." I sat in the car and opened every file. She thought she cut me out. She'd actually locked herself in, with me on the outside, holding every key. I didn't act that night. I went home, took a long shower, made tea, sat at my laptop with the kind of focus I hadn't felt in months. Not rage, not sadness, clarity. Because Jessica didn't just humiliate me. She made the fatal mistake of assuming I was too nice to respond. She believed I would sulk, stew, maybe gossip behind her back. She didn't think I was capable of cutting her off at the knees, especially when she was already standing at the altar. She was wrong. I started with the wedding email, the account I created for her. She never changed the password. She never removed the recovery email either, which was still mine. I clicked Forgot Password, reset it in seconds. Inside was a gold mine. Dozens of unread messages from vendors, unconfirmed RSVPs, a last-minute change from the lighting company that she hadn't responded to, and several invoices that were still unpaid, including one for the live violinist, who was threatening to cancel if he didn't receive final payment. I didn't touch anything. Not yet. Instead, I logged into the vendor portal, the site she used to manage everything, the seating chart, meal preferences, arrival times, vendor access passes. I still had admin rights. My name was never removed. Neither was my credit card info. She had been editing on top of my foundation. Poorly. So I backed it all up. Every list, every contract, every guest message. I took screenshots of everything and uploaded it to a hidden folder titled, For When She Deserves It. It took less than 2 hours to find the cracks. Her seating chart was a mess. Double booked names, unconfirmed +1s, guests marked as confirmed, who'd never replied. The venue contract had a clause she'd clearly missed. The final floor plan and guest count had to be confirmed 48 hours before the wedding, which meant now. And she hadn't done it. The caterer's confirmation was sitting in the email, unopened. They were still waiting on vegetarian counts. The bakery had texted about a typo on the cake that needed to be fixed. She never replied. I didn't cancel anything. Not yet. Because chaos is better served slowly. I flagged all the messages and read. Then I moved on to the guest list. This was where it got interesting. Jessica had included someone named BC on the private list. At first, I thought it was a relative, but then I recognized the name from months ago, one of her ex's sisters. Jessica had invited her old boyfriend's family member to her wedding, just to brag. I found the number texted anonymously. Hi, just wanted to make sure you knew what time to arrive for the ceremony. Jessica wanted you there early, before the groom sees you. Then I messaged the actual groom's ex-girlfriend, whom Jessica had trash-talked endlessly. She had sent her a save the date as a power move, assuming she wouldn't show. So I made sure she would. I updated the guest list with her full name and added a +1. Then I created 2 fake invitations, different times, different locations, and sent them to a carefully selected group of relatives known for being dramatic, entitled, or always running late, just enough to create confusion, but not enough to look intentional. Finally, I downloaded the wedding playlist from the DJ's shared folder. I added one song, not at the beginning, not at the end, but track 12. A slow, moody piano cover of Apologize by OneRepublic. Not subtle, not random. Perfect. I closed my laptop at 3:47 a.m. Jessica would wake up in 5 hours thinking it was the happiest day of her life, and I'd already written the ending. Weddings don't fall apart all at once. They unravel thread by thread, if you know where to tug. Jessica's day began with a missing stylist. The makeup artist, one I'd recommended months earlier, was already halfway through contouring one of the bridesmaids when she packed up her brushes and walked out. No explanation, just left. What Jessica didn't know was that the artist had been on hold for weeks waiting for her overdue payment, one I knew had been ignored. I sent her a message that morning. You're not being paid. Walk. You deserve better. And she did. Strike one. Then came the flowers. Or rather, the wrong ones. Jessica had requested 3 specific shades of roses: ivory, dusty mauve, and what she dramatically referred to as blush champagne. The florist texted me in a panic at 8:10 a.m. because she hadn't been able to confirm the substitutions after supply chain issues. Jessica hadn't replied to her email, so I did. I told her the bride had changed her mind, that she wanted a full palette switch to white lilies and eucalyptus. The result? Jessica's carefully curated Pinterest board fantasy turned into a botanical funeral arrangement. Strike 2. By the time the guests began to arrive, things were off. The venue staff was understaffed because half of them had been told, via a client update, that the wedding had been moved to a different ballroom. The result? No one was there to guide guests to their seats, prep the mics, or confirm the ceremony walkout. People wandered. Photographers stood around waiting for instructions. The bridal party whispered nervously, trying to act like this wasn't a train wreck in slow motion. And then the ex showed up. Not Jessica's, the groom's, in a red dress no less, which based on Jessica's earlier behavior was either a coincidence or divine justice. She strolled in right as the music started, clutching her invitation like it was proof of a war crime. Heads turned. One of the older aunts clutched her pearls so hard she nearly snapped them. Jessica froze at the end of the aisle. The ceremony paused for 5 full minutes while a groomsman attempted to de-escalate something between the ex and the groom's mother, who had no idea she was invited. Strike 3, but the best was still to come. Reception time. As the bridal party entered to applause and awkward smiles, the DJ played the first few upbeat tracks. Then, right as Jessica and the groom reached the center of the dance floor, track 12, that slow, moody piano version of Apologize, it hit like a funeral dirge. She stopped mid-spin, looked at the DJ like she'd been physically slapped. He shrugged, said it was on the playlist. She approved, her face cracked, just for a second, but enough for the photographers to catch it. I wasn't there, of course. I was at a rooftop bar 3 states away, sipping on a lavender martini and posting photos of a fake girls' weekend. People messaged me asking why I wasn't at the wedding. I replied with one sentence. I didn't get an invite. By 9 p.m., guests were leaving early. By 10, the caterer had run out of backup entrees. The vegetarian count had been wrong. By midnight, the wedding hashtag was trending, not for its aesthetic, but for the disaster. And Jessica? She never figured out what happened. She blamed the planner, the vendors, the weather, everyone but the one person she had underestimated the most, me. The woman she erased from the seating chart. The woman who, in the end, wasn't seated at the wedding, because she'd already flipped the whole damn event upside down. Weddings end in photographs. Frozen smiles, filtered memories, hashtags curated to perfection, no matter how much chaos swirled beneath the surface. But Jessica couldn't curate this one. By the next morning, the internet had done what the internet does best, exposed everything. Guests had posted clips, whispers from the aisle, a shaky video of the groom's ex making her surprise entrance, another of Jessica staring daggers at the white lilies lining the altar, and then, of course, the infamous DJ moment, a wide-angle shot of the newlyweds center stage as Apologize, played softly beneath the stunned hush of a crowd trying to pretend everything was fine. It wasn't. The photos she posted on her feed were carefully cropped. She tried to spin it. Such a magical, real day. Nothing ever goes exactly as planned, and that's what makes it perfect. But the captions didn't match the comments section. People noticed the missing bridesmaids, the wrong flowers, the cake that was half the expected size. Someone even tagged the bakery in a reply, asking why it looked unfinished. They responded publicly. Due to unpaid invoices, the contracted design was modified. She deleted the post, then re-uploaded it with comments turned off. Strike 4. Her social following shrank. Brand collabs she'd been teasing, skincare deals, a homeware line, disappeared. Quietly, professionally. No drama, just silence. She blamed the algorithm. Family started to ask questions too. Why was Aunt Camille's invitation wrong? Why did the photographer pack up early? Why had she told the groom's family one dress code and everyone else another? The cracks widened, and she couldn't control the narrative anymore. For someone whose entire identity was built on being admired, adored, and envied, silence was the ultimate punishment. My husband found out what I did eventually. Not from me, from Jessica. She tried to corner him at a family gathering, still red-faced and humiliated, blaming me for everything. He asked me directly, "Did you actually do all that?" I didn't lie. I just said, "Would you blame me if I did?" He stared at me for a long moment, then said, "No." We've never spoken of it again. Because here's the thing about revenge. When it's clean, silent, and precise, no one needs to see the knife to know who held it. Jessica never apologized. She sent a one-line text 6 weeks later. "We're moving past the drama now. Hope you're well." I didn't respond. I was too busy enjoying the peace that comes from finally standing up after years of being dismissed. From no longer playing the good girl in a family that expected silence, from watching someone choke on the narrative they wrote for you, and realizing you never needed to fight for a seat at the table, because you were the architect of the whole damn room. She took away my name card, so I took her spotlight. She tried to humiliate me in one night. I let her destroy herself instead, and all I had to do was step back and let it unravel. She planned a perfect wedding. I just made sure it was the last thing she ever bragged about.